Powered by Riverside FM.
Deep in the Peruvian desert lies a message carved into the earth. Lines that are miles long, perfect geometric shapes, and giant animals no one on the ground could ever see. The Nazca people drew them, but who were they drawing them for? We're diving into the theories, the rituals, and the high strangeness behind the Nazca lines, from sacred pathways to water ceremonies to the possibility that these markings were meant for something or someone watching from above. Tonight on Newsworthy, 2 words and 2 question marks.
I'm Steve, and I've not seen a conspiracy that I don't like.
I'm Jerry, the analytical skeptic of the group that says, show me the proof.
I'm Brett. I'm the mediator between the two elders and usually cast the deciding vote.
We weren't just looking for a house. We wanted our forever home.
That's when we called Ed Lockett, USA Mortgage. He helped us see the bigger picture.
Ed showed us how the right loan could fit our family's future, not just today's needs.
And he made sure every detail was clear, so we felt confident planting roots.
Hi, I'm Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. Let's find the loan that makes your forever home possible. Call me today at 502-680-0953.
It's been a while since I've done this.
Just for you, man. Just for you, Brett. Just for you.
Thank you.
You know, we know that Brett is going to be taking a small hiatus from the show.
Yeah, hopefully it's really small.
So we're going to miss you. We do have a replacement for you lined up already.
We do?
Yeah, I was waiting for him today when he came up.
Yeah, I met him. He seems like a good guy.
He gives about
he's
the same
attractive.
amount of input, too.
Yeah.
So. Just saying.
It's over there.
Oh, yeah, it's over there. No, and it's just blank. It's just a hand-drawn picture of Brett. But yeah, it does give the same amount of input. So I'm just kidding. We're gonna get your stuff done and get you took care of. Man, it's a good show. I do want to mention before we get started, this week's an exciting week. We got a lot of cool things happening. We're doing our first field trip this weekend. Woohoo! We don't know what that looks like yet, but if you watch us on YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff, it's going to be more visual experience, I think. Mainly because you get to see a lot of Jerry. So, and
Let's not run them off before they even start watching.
yeah, our website's getting some pretty cool changes this week, hopefully.
No, it won't be this week.
Oh, maybe
It'll
next
take
week.
more than 1 week to get that up.
Maybe 2 weeks.
Maybe several weeks.
Maybe several.
There'll be changes.
There'll be changes coming.
There will be large changes, and we want them. It involves.
I thought you said you'd have this done tomorrow.
No.
That's
It's
what I thought he
sensitive.
said,
Don't
too.
you never sleep?
And he's retired.
He can
I don't
just
know what
stay
he's,
up all
what
night
he's
tonight and
doing.
just knock it out.
Right? Gosh. He acts like he's retired or something.
Yeah, but this is too important. I don't want to give it away, but it's too important. It's got to be done right. Otherwise, bad things can happen.
Right.
No,
So
100%.
I've got to make sure it's done right.
Anywho, tonight's topic, the Nazca lines. Pretty excited about this topic. I there's a lot going on in today's world that kind of relates. We're going to get into that a little bit.
A little bit.
Um,
A little bit.
I will say, I want to say, come out to you guys and let you all know a secret.
Which is?
Well, you know, we talk politics a lot before.
Originally, that's all we talked about,
Right,
basically.
but, you know, at dinner we always get into politics.
Oh, sure.
I want to let you know that I am changing my political affiliation. I'm going to be voting Democrat in the next election. I am hoping upon hope that it is a ticket of AOC and Gavin Newsom. I would be excited to support that, and I can't wait to pull that lever for those guys.
You suck at poker, don't you?
What?
Your poker face is horrible.
I'm awesome at poker. Thank you.
They're not.
He does the
Why
same
could
thing in
we-
TI4
Yes.
whenever you know he's going to do something big.
I'm going to make
and
a
he'll
call.
look a little too happy.
He gives it away.
April Fools. Sorry. Yeah, I don't like any politician. Democrat, Republican. So
Same.
Democrats don't take heart. I don't
I've
like
been there.
Republicans either.
I've been there with you for a while. I'm trusting them less and less all the time. And it was basically zero trust I had with them to begin with.
Yeah.
Right. They're in the negatives. Anywho, Jerry, tell us a little bit about some Nazca lines. Where they come from? Who were the people that created them?
it's,
Let's get into this.
First, let me set the picture a little bit. Imagine if you were standing in the middle of a huge, vast Peruvian desert. Nothing but sand, a little bit of wind, silence. And underneath your feet is a giant hummingbird. So giant, it can only be seen from the sky. But don't worry, that's, as Steve said, just the Nazca lines. And the hummingbird would be one of hundreds of different figures, animals, plants, and geometric shapes. Okay, let's start with a where. They're located on Peru's southern desert plateau. They're roughly 250 miles south of Lima, the capital of Peru. They stretch across the Nazca Desert, which is an extremely arid plain. And the environment here is very important. It's very stable, almost no rain, very little wind. Dark desert rocks over much lighter soil, which is perfect for preserving geoglyphs for millennia. When? These things date to somewhere between 200 BC and 600 AD, a long time ago. They weren't created at once, they were created over centuries. And they coincide with the rise and fall of the Nazca culture itself, which is known for pottery, textiles, extremely efficient, technologically advanced irrigation systems. We'll talk a little bit about that later. The who made them? Well, it was the Nazca people, in case you couldn't guess from the name. Very skilled engineers and artists for their times. They likely organized labor and ritual specialists that designed and helped maintain the lines. Their society was deeply tied to agriculture and water. Again, they were in one of the most dry deserts in the world. Their only hope of being able to sustain life there was to be able to irrigate, to be able to grow crops, to be able to survive.
It's amazing what people can do in
It is.
certain situations, you know what I mean?
It absolutely is. And I don't think in many cases we give near enough credit to some of the old people from the olden days. We do in certain cases. The pyramids is a great example, right? That's still a marvel that we don't know how they did it. But there's so many other things around the world like these that it's still absolutely amazing, to go with your point of how they did this, and they were so accurate with it.
I don't understand, Brett.
What?
Jerry was alive during this time. He probably helped with it. Why don't
And
you just
I'm
tell
sure
us?
I would if my memory was better. But when you're that old, your memory tends to lose a little
That'd
bit.
be like a year boat ride over there.
Exactly, yeah. These things are huge. It's over 180 square miles. The largest of the individual figures themselves span for over 1,200 feet. The hummingbird that we mentioned in the beginning is 305 feet long. There are over 800 straight lines, some of which stretch for miles. Some resemble runways. I think we might hear more about that later. There are around 300 geometric shapes. That is, if you leave out the hundreds of new ones that have been found in the last decade alone. More than 70 animal and humanoid figures. Now, many of these figures are visible only from above, which begs the question, why would a culture with no aircraft design that? New geoglyphs are still being discovered via drones and AI mapping. We mentioned that within the last decade, over several hundred have been discovered. There is a Japanese university, I'll probably massacre the name, I think it's Yamagata, that has had a team of people there investigating and researching this since 2011. And they are, in large part, the primary reason most of the new ones have been discovered. They have found tons of geoglyphs depicting parrots, cats, monkeys, killer whales, even severed heads near the Nazca lines. Most of them are believed to be a part of. That hasn't been established in all of the cases. Many of the newer ones that they've found are smaller, older, more eroded, which is part of the reason that they hadn't been found previously. Harder to spot from the ground. It also shows that the Nazca lines are much larger than was previously believed. Some of the different shapes includes animals, hummingbirds, spiders, monkeys, condors, whales. Some are plants, some are natural forms. There are even some humanoid figures that some say resemble astronaut-like figures.
Don't.
No, you don't think that?
No, I absolutely think
Oh,
that.
okay.
I don't think they might. They absolutely do.
Maybe. I'll be honest. The one that we looked at, there's one that's nicknamed the astronaut, right? I think it looks more humanoid with a little bit larger head, but I can certainly see where some would say it looks astronaut-like. There are also massive geometric shapes, trapezoids, spirals, zigzags. Who discovered them? Now, obviously, they were known to locals for centuries, but they became famous around the world in the 20s after commercial aircraft began to fly over. And again, as we've said several times, tons of these can only be seen from the sky. You see a shape, you don't know what it is unless you're way up above looking down. That's when they became famous around the world. Now, different people had saw them and talked about them and written about them for many years. The first published mention of the Nazca lines was by the Spanish conquistador Pedro de Leon in his 1553 book. 16 years later, in 1569, Luis Monzon reported having seen ancient ruins in this area that he described as the remains of roads. Maybe some of those long straight lines, that some of which are 80 miles long. Archaeologist Paul Kozik called them the world's largest astronomy book. We do know that several of them point to celestial bodies, which is why he was making that statement. The Nazca lines were later studied extensively by Maria Reich, the Lady of the Lines, who dedicated her life to mapping, measuring, and protecting them, often by hand, under the desert sun. She concluded that the site was a huge astronomical calendar and that some of its animal sketches were modeled after groupings of stars in the night sky. Now, I had the easy part. I answered some of the W questions, the who, what, where, and when. Brett is now going to tell us how these were made and some of the common reasons often given as to the why.
Tax season is here, and that refund check feels like a fresh start.
Exactly. But instead of splurging, imagine using it to pay down debt or even as a down payment on a new home.
That's what we did. We called Ed Locke at USA Mortgage, and he showed us how our refund could open doors we didn't think were even possible.
Ed explained the options clearly, whether it's reducing what you owe or building towards home ownership. He makes the numbers work for you.
Hi, I'm Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. Your tax refund can be more than extra cash. It can be the key to financial freedom or your next home. Let's talk about the best path for you. Call me today at 502-680-0953.
Brett, you were going to tell us some stuff.
Yeah. So first off, if you look at it closely, it looks like this was made by just displacing the dirt. So typically they're about 4 to 6 inches deep. They range from about 1 to 7 feet wide. And basically where the sand has got so much iron oxide, it's very red. So just displacing a few inches of dirt, you can, tell it exposes the lighter yellowish gray subsoil beneath the iron oxide. And this can be done. This can be proven just by digging a little bit into the dirt around the area. One thing, as Jerry was talking about, these things have lasted for, at this point, thousands of years.
Yeah.
But the reason most scientists believe that is because the area gets barely any rain, so there's hardly any erosion. There's hardly any wind that would displace the dirt. So somehow, and I think that was the most miraculous thing to me whenever I started researching.
I agree.
Is the fact that this
Still
was done. You're telling me they just used a shovel, dug 6 inches deep, and this is still here. I mean, you build a fence, you dig like 3 feet deep to get below the frost line. That thing's rotted.
Yep.
In a few years. But so how do they do this? So there's definitely a lot of debate. Steve's going to get into more of the conspiracy type things, but I'm going to talk about some of the things that, if we assume that the Nazca people built, or that they built these and they did it themselves, there's a few different ways they could have done that. The first way is just using wooden stakes and ropes. So there's straight lines that go on for, I think the longest one is about a quarter mile. Like as far as the picture, and these things go on for miles. And Jerry, we were talking about this earlier, but over a mile's distance, you're only displacing like 4 feet or 4 yards. Sorry, 4 yards.
Extremely accurate.
So it's extremely straight lines. Just think about how long a mile is, and it's amazing. So basically, these spirals and curves were created by tying ropes to central posts. One of the theories is that they would rotate around that post, and then just use basic measuring cords to ensure the geometric accuracy. And there's actual wooden stakes that have been recovered at the ends of many of these lines, and they are carbon dated to the exact same time period, which is about 500 BC to 500 AD.
Which proves that they were well done steaks. Just saying.
It means they tasted like crap.
Yeah,
but I tell you what, they were probably as stiff as a hockey puck.
They were probably delicious.
And scientists say they have zero moisture, kind of what we've been telling you.
That's probably why they've lasted so long.
Bother.
By the way, for those that has no idea where we're going with this tangent, Mr. Steve swears by and will only eat well-done steaks. And by well done, we mean hockey pucks.
No, we just mean not pink. Not
dry, zero moisture hockey pucks.
He likes to chew that thing for an hour.
That's so not true. The other
What
day,
he calls steak is real jerky.
I made steaks, and mine was a well-done New York strip, and it was delicious. Butter smooth, not chewy. Y'all just don't know how
Steve,
to cook.
Our advertisement for our jerky sponsors at the end of the show, not now.
Ooh. Anywho.
So one other method that it's theorized that they use is just using a scale design for the figures. Like a lot of these pictures you can find, they've uncovered pottery and things like that have these same images on them. Like I know the monkey, the killer whale, those can all be found on pottery. Basically, they would use this scale design. It's like a smaller picture, and then use a grid system overlaid on top of that, and then using both of those, they would create a bigger grid system, and then that would help them keep the image more accurate.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yeah.
For anyone that thinks that this civilization, almost 2,000 years old, wouldn't have been capable of that, these are the same people that built Pulios, an irrigation system so advanced, so well designed, built almost 2,000 years ago. 36 of them are still functioning, working today.
See, he's got a rep for his people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, yeah, and that's the thing. We talked about this last week when we were preparing for it. I feel like as we're technologically advanced now, we just look back to the past and all those people were stupid. They weren't stupid. They were probably just as smart, if not smarter, than we are now. They just didn't have the same tools that we have.
Exactly.
So they had to be creative in what they did. And both of in both of these methods, it was probably, I mean, it was a combination of the two. There was actually a study done by Joe Nichols, 1982. So he had a small team of about 5 people. They recreated a 440-foot Nazca condor in a Kentucky field. They started with a small drawing and then plotted points by, scaling coordinates with ropes. And then they had wooden sticks similar to the ones that they found. And then they didn't have any aerial view at all for this. They completed it in just a few days. And the design that they chose to do was one of the more complicated designs. It proved that complex figures could be enlarged proportionally from the ground using only the tools that the Nazca people would have. So again, this definitely could have been done. And I was telling, we were talking about it last week. This is one of the first conspiracies that we've done where, I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but after doing all the research, I was like, there's no way that this seems super unlikely that anybody other than the Nazca people made them. I think, and Steve's hopefully going to prove us wrong because that'll make it a more interesting show. But so there's been multiple experiments replicating the long straight lines, the trapezoids, the spirals. Again, using these same tools. So again, this is just something that has been repeated over and over. Theories about now why I think the big question is, why do these things exist? Why did they create these things? Because even though it can be done, I mean, this would take a lot of time, a lot of planning, a lot of effort, and for something that's not really useful. I mean, it's just a picture in the middle of a desert. You can't even really appreciate it because at this time they didn't have any sort of machine that could fly in the air.
Or did they?
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. But one theory about their purpose, as Jerry was kind of talking about, early researchers such as Paul Kosak and Maria Recchi,
Yes.
proposed the lines and figures align with the solstices. Some of them align with sunrises, celestial events, and they basically functioned as a giant calendar. So that's one theory. Another theory is that was used for religious rituals for water and fertility. This is supported by Johann Reinhard and Anthony Aveni. Basically holds that the straight lines and trapezoids served as a ceremonial pathway where people gathered to perform rituals honoring deities, pleading for rain, or fertile crops in the arid desert. Again, these people had hardly any water. I'm reading Dune right now, and this reminds me that it's just a big desert planet, and the water is the biggest. It's the most scarce material.
Can I interject? I watched a video the other day of, and I always forget this guy's name. He's kind of like who's the one guy we talk about? Neil deGrasse Tyson. This is the other guy that does all the videos. And the thing he
Carl
said,
Sagan?
No, but he said, do you know what the rarest material is in the entire universe?
What?
You want to take a guess?
I've heard this, but I do not.
Yeah, I heard it too. I can't remember what it was.
It's something that you would never guess if you guessed a million times.
Right. It's wood.
Yes.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Because for a planet to be able to have all the things
Which
to
is
produce
crazy.
wood
it is.
is so unheard of. But anyway, sorry, I didn't interrupt you, but
No, yeah.
Before you go on, I would, if I remember correctly, you mentioned ritual pathways was one of the things. Have archaeologists not found evidence that many of these lines show evidence of wear patterns, which would indicate that a lot of people have walked them?
Right. Yeah.
Which would kind of back
kind
that
of
theory
support
up.
that theory too. Yeah. And even some of the animals, I know the monkey, it's got 9 fingers, and in this culture, if you're born with a deformity, that was supposedly you're blessed by a god.
I'll talk about these guys just taking time. We'll get into it. I'm sorry.
You're just setting the stage for your conspiracy theories, aren't you?
Man, I'm just telling. No, for realistic theories. Anyway.
So there's
Sorry,
been a
Brett, we
there's
just
been a bunch. No, you're
interrupted
good. There's been a bunch of recent studies, especially in like the last 5 to 7 years, and they've been using AI as a tool to try and find more of these geoglyphs. And I think they found like around 400 of these. And Jerry kind of talked about the institute that's performed these tests. So, and that's just amazing to me too, because even if you think back to the 20s, it's over 100 years ago. I know, Jerry, it's gone by quick, but
Exactly.
it's over 100 years now. So, but like just think about 100 years. Just in 100 years, we've gotten the internet. We've been through World War I, World War II. All these other wars. We've gotten we've gotten flight, which that's one of the reasons why we
know about this.
Yeah, that's how we found out about it. Now we got AI. I mean, the amount of stuff that's happened in the last 100 years is crazy, and yet we're still discovering more of these things. I think that's really amazing.
I agree. And also begs the question, how many more are there?
Yeah, right. What have we not found? And it really, it seems very likely that there may have been more, and they could have been damaged or destroyed.
Exactly.
And I think that's one of the reasons AI has helped so much, is because that has happened. And a lot of those that we found recently are smaller. And,
Speaking of AI, I just want to throw this out there. Next week, we have a very special encounters. We have a one-man wrecking crew trying to
Slow down AI a little bit.
AI in his own particular way. So be sure to join Encounters next week.
That's
It's a
gonna be super good.
awesome interview with a former past guest.
Correct.
And so we talked about before the episode too that there's these geoglyphs. They're not isolated to this area. They can be found all over the world, which again begs the question: why did all of these different people who have no communication with each other whatsoever, other than Jerry going back and forth on his boat? That's when the conspiracy theories start to. It's kind of like with like dragons, like how all these civilizations have like pictures of dragons and things like that. I think that kind of feels like that. So what do you think about that, Steve?
Well, some of the geoglyphs like we have here locally, and I say locally in the eastern United States, are different in sort of ways. They were made by excavating 5-6 inches of dirt and being done with it. If you take a place like the Great Serpent Mount in Ohio, that was an undertaking of epic proportions, because they didn't just move dirt, they mounded it. And to be able to appreciate how the Great Serpent Mount in Ohio is, you have to be elevated. You have to be higher than a tree to really see the vastness of this megalith. Yeah. So this one's a little different, and there are mountains around, so maybe they went up to the top of the mountain and it was like, oh, look what we've done over the last however long it took them to do one.
Well, that is true to a certain extent with all of them. Whether it's the Nazca lines or wherever, there are certain areas that give you a better view. Even so, most say that they can't be fully seen and appreciated except from the air.
Right.
And that's true for all of them. It doesn't matter. You mentioned the Serpent Mound, which is in what? South Central Ohio?
Southeastern Ohio.
But
Bad. I will never go to the Great Serpent Mound again.
Yeah,
Bad experiences.
Motorcycle wreck there.
On my way home from is when I wrecked my
But
motorcycle.
yeah, these things are all over the world. The Uffington White Horse in England, the Atacama Giant in Chile, the Blythe Antelopes in the Colorado Desert in California, the Sahama lions in Bolivia. Brett's right. They were doing similar things spread out over the Uffington White Horse, 1700 to 1000 BC. This one's somewhere around 0. The Atacama Giant, 1000 to 1400 AD, spread out over a few thousand years, but they were doing similar things around the world. I agree. That's what begins to make some of the conspiracy theories sound not quite as crazy, I think.
So let's just get started with the big one, shall we? If you're going to make a huge creation that is only seeable from the air, the question begs, why would you make that, and wouldn't you make that for the gods? You mentioned, I think, Eric von Daniken in his book, Chariots of the Gods. One of my very favorite books. I think he's wrong on this one, but so much of that book, if you read it, is legit. And it has been proven. I know you said that a lot of scientists are like, oh, that whole book's nonsense. But it really
No,
isn't.
I didn't say that. I said almost all scientists say that his beliefs on the Nazca lines have been disproven.
Yeah.
Just for the Nazca lines, not the whole book.
So the theory that refuses to die, and it basically is that the Nazca lines were built as like runways or signals for extraterrestrials to bring them back. People point to the scale about how big they are, how perfect for the time they are. I mean, obviously they're not, computer generated perfect, but they are perfect for the time. And that they're too aerial, which begs the question, why would you spend the time we have to imagine that these people were working every day to eat. So why would you take time away from gathering food, growing food, creating food, to make hundreds of these? It's not one or two, it's hundreds, and we're finding more every day. It's a very seductive thought. A desert full of landing strips, civilizations that are just simply carving messages into the sky. You can see some of these from the foothills that are not far away. And that's facts. There's no disputing that. But the majority of these, to fully appreciate the scale and to fully appreciate everything it is, you have to be above them.
True.
So one of the other theories, and this is the one that just makes Jerry's skin crawl, and I love it, that's why I had to bring it in, is the ancient hot air balloon theory. The theory that the Nazca people had actually achieved flight. Not flight, say, Orville and Wilbur Wright
Not
flight.
powered
which is
flight.
Powered flight. But that they had created hot air balloons from reeds and cotton. In the 1970s, a researcher even built one to prove that it could be done. And it did lift off, although briefly. Here's the problem with that theory. There's really no archaeological evidence that Nazca ever built anything like this. There's no remnants, there's no depictions. It would seem to me that if you were able to fly, you would put that on your pottery. They put their whale and some of the pictures from the Nazca lines on their pottery, but not a balloon of any variety, of any shape. Even the Egyptians did that in their hieroglyphs. So, but if you want to be able to appreciate something without it being for aliens, a hot air balloon is a conspiracy, or is a theory. The star maps is another popular idea. The lines are a giant astronomical calendar. Jerry, you brought that up. A map of solstices, star paths, and seasonal markers. Some alignments are actually real. Others, probably not so much. What's the word? Patagonia?
Yeah.
Where humans see what they want to see as opposed to what they actually see. So give us a few lines in the night sky and we'll find a meaning, whether it's there or not, is basically that theory. However, this theory does tap into something ancient. The idea that early civilizations, because of whatever reason, watch the heavens with a devotion that we have no idea. And having lived out west, having lived in Idaho and driven through Montana in the middle of the night, when they say big sky country, that's not an exaggeration. I would encourage everyone to get out away from your town, go as far away from the city as you can on a clear night, and just look up. We don't take time for that anymore. Back then, if they couldn't sleep or they didn't have to, that's what they did was they
didn't have TV to distract them.
Right, or cell
6 hours a
phones,
day or
or-
whatever it
right.
is. Yeah.
So they had a lot more time for checking out the stars and such. This one is one that I'm not very much into, but I want to bring it up because it is, and that's the lost civilization and advanced tech. And I don't want to bring this up, and I don't believe in it because what's wrong with the Nazca being, like Jerry said earlier, smart enough to do this? Or just because, like you said, they were ancient doesn't mean they were not bright, not intelligent. The belief that the Nazca lines require technology or knowledge that shouldn't have existed at the time, like advanced surveying tools, mathematical systems beyond their era, or maybe even something like a primitive GPS. This isn't really a theory about the Nazca at all. It's about us and our tendency to underestimate ancient people. They say that the pyramids were built with a plumb bob and a lever. I don't believe that, but that's what they say. And there's no reason for us to have doubt that these people couldn't have achieved this particular site. I mean, all you had to do was have a shovel, and a way to measure the lines.
Yeah,
you know, they could have had the same guy lay out the same positions just to measure off a hill. I mean, it's doable.
Have you guys ever seen the videos of those? I mean, they look like they're in like the middle of nowhere. I don't know, like in a jungle essentially, and they like just use the clay and the grounds and the grass and like sticks.
Yes.
And they build like a whole house
With a stick.
It's just like there ain't no way I'm doing that. You know what I mean? It's just like,
But they do it.
But if it was a matter of life and death, like it was back then, some of them would figure out how to do it.
All of your time is going to be devoted to perfecting that skill. Yeah. So.
Well, there's also a more mystical angle. The idea that the lines were actually ritual pathways. And this is the only one where walking the things make any sense at all, because I have a real hard time believing, not that they built them, I think that they did, but that they also just took the time to walk them all the time. I mean, no wonder they're no longer a people, because they didn't do anything but walk these damn lines.
Well, I was going to ask that. That was kind of the question I had with the whole balloon theory. Like, these people struggled just to grow their food. They struggled to get water. And they didn't have paper. So they passed all this information on through like word of mouth, through, passed from father to son. I mean, the hot air balloon technology, it's not like it's completely straightforward. Like, I would have never come up with it, you know what I mean? So the fact that they would have spent all that time just to look at some lines in the dirt, it doesn't seem very likely.
But that's not the purpose of flight. Is that why the Wright brothers decided to invent a plane?
So that's a good
to
point,
look at some lines on the Earth?
No.
Obviously, flight has been a dream of mankind
since we saw
for
birds.
Probably. Yeah. So I think there's many other reasons that you would try to figure out how to.
But if they really did discover it, they would have been away from every other civilization.
And they weren't
at that
an
time.
Isolated civilization. How could they have kept that a secret?
Right.
How would not everyone have known?
They weren't far from the Aztecs.
So far of everything,
from the Mayans,
right?
All of those were on the same continent.
Even though I've got to say, of all the conspiracy theories you've mentioned so far, to me, it's up toward the top. It's more believable.
What's that?
The balloon theory.
That is crazy. You
really
think this is more believable
than aliens, runways for aliens?
Oh, just for this topic.
Some of these lines are
saying
80
of all
miles
time,
long.
and I was like, whoa.
No. I'm just saying, of the conspiracy
I would
theories
agree.
he's brought up,
I would agree.
it makes more sense than the others.
Yeah, I would agree.
The spiritual theory has a thought that these were ritual pathways, and that walking them, they weren't actually meant to be seen from above at all. That they were meant to be felt through the ground. That it was a rite of passage. That it was a something. And the reason that there were so many is because you would advance yourself as you walk the lines, if you will. Maybe that's what Johnny Cash's whole song was about. I don't know, but it would be a good example.
Going along with that, I think I've also heard that there is some evidence that there were certain religious buildings at the ends of some of these lines, which were given the reason for people to walk the lines to get to this religious ceremonial building.
Yeah. Basically, it kind of blends archaeology with choreography on the desert floor, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
To be honest, the reality and the reasons that the mystery endures is what we actually know. The Nazca people that created these lines did so by removing dark stones to reveal lighter stone underneath. They used simple tools. They worked with precision, and they likely tied the designs to either water, fertility, or ritual, things that mattered most in the desert where survival was a daily negotiation. The truth is, we don't know. We don't, and Jerry can't remember. So,
Right
and
away.
that it is that part that keeps these weird and odd conspiracies alive. You know, as humans, we try to plug in answers when
Trying
we
to make
don't know
sense
the
out of
answers.
things. Absolutely. We're curious.
So I personally, I don't know how I fall on this one. I guess the answer is for me, I don't have any doubt that the Nazca people made them. For me, the question is why they made them.
Yeah.
For who did they make them? And I'll bring it up because I want to talk about a couple that are very specific. The one that Eric von Daniken shows in his book of the runway looks like a modern day runway by all accounts. It
So
looks
does any
like
long
someone.
straight line, does it not?
Huh?
So, would not any long straight line in the
Yeah, but-
desert look like a runway?
Possibly, but this one, looks, it is skinnier on one end, longer on the other end, where you would land and take your time to at the fat end, you would stop there. It looks like a runway.
But so like I'm sure there's different theories about what alien ships could do, but like aren't most alien ships that they're just like so technologically advanced they just
Vertical
take
takeoff.
they have vertical takeoff and landing, where they don't really need a runway.
But no. In this case, these aliens had the exact opposite ships. We had to build runways as long as 80 miles long. So yeah,
Because like a
some
runway
aliens,
is just
vertical
like
takeoff.
that's like
These guys,
That's
maybe
eight
maybe
mile
the
long runway.
aliens that were depicted in some of their Nazca lines were of the TikTok variety and not the
Maybe.
little saucer variety, and they have a longer required landing strip. I don't know, Jerry.
But I agree with Brett. The runway theory doesn't make sense, and here's why. If you're going to build runways. And there's certain lines that totally agree, kind of look like runways from above. If you're going to build runways, why did you build the runways and then think, this was really fun. Let me build 18 times more than what I've already done in geometric shapes, in condors, in humming. Why? If you're
here's
building
the answer to
runways,
that.
why did you not stop with runways and continue and build way more than the
Because
runways?
you are trying. Here's my theory.
Okay.
Follow me. You can do. This is simply coming from me.
That's all you give many
Yes.
of us is our theory.
If I am a civilization who has struggled to do all the things to exist because I live in a desert, and one day I am visited, and let's just throw it out there for shits and giggles, I am visited by an alien that shows me how to do something, shows me a better way, shows me anything, and I come in a ship that I mean, you have to understand, flight was not a thing. Birds flew. The only thing that flew besides birds were gods.
Well, how would they even know that you would need a runway? Did these people even have the wheel? I don't even know.
The thing is,
So-
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I don't think so.
to finish my thought with what Jerry was saying, even if it's not a runway, you are showing, and the reason that makes the most sense if aliens are the answer, and you want to know why they build a whale and all these other 800 different, because once those people left, it left a huge, whatever they were, your civilization now has a huge hole, and all you want are those people to come back. So you do these in hopes that that when they come back, they can see you and see where you're at.
That was part of Eric von
Exactly.
Daniken's
And
thing.
to
He
me,
was trying,
that's-
part of it was trying to lure them back.
Yeah, or say, hey, we're still here. Come see us. This is to you. The perfect example of that is what's called the astronaut, which is on the side of the mountain.
The large
Huh?
human. The large human.
I don't think it's you. It doesn't look human to me. If you look like that, it would be human if you were a kid that drew a human. If you were your grandson
it
that
does.
drew
I
what a
would agree.
human looked like, that's what it looks like.
Kind of.
Well, guess what else looks like that? A tall gray.
But if you look at the killer whale, for example, it's not an exact picture of a killer whale. It's kind of it's stylized, right? It's kind of like they got their own like artistic flavor, essentially. So I mean, I do see what you're saying. It does not look human. It looks way more alien to it, as far as like what we imagine as aliens looking like. But to these people, I mean, it's just a humanoid, creature.
Here's what I believe. Sorry to interrupt.
No, yeah.
Here's what I believe. I believe about 75% of what you said. All of it. Except that the aliens came. We know that throughout history, we have looked to the skies and believed there was gods. Abraham Lincoln once said, a man that can look into the skies and say there is no God is surely a fool. I think that mentality has been around since the very beginning. When you look around, you just kind of know. We didn't do this on our own. Something had to create this.
Right.
So whether they had the Bible and believed in the one true God that we believe in, or they believed that there was a multitude of gods, we know that throughout history, people have believed that there are a God or gods, and it's always up in the sky. I've never heard of a religion that believes that God's down on the ground. They're always looking into the sky. So I think even if the aliens never came, maybe it was the same deal. I don't think the aliens had to actually come for them to try to attract the aliens to come. And I think maybe this was simply that. Go ahead.
Here's the one thing that tends to make me believe that maybe it was a bit more than just a God that lives in the sky. And it is called, and I'm sure you guys saw it, the Indian Mandela in the Nazca lines. The geometric shape of two squares isometrically opposed together with the circle in the center, which is by all accounts perfect in every way. Right angles, perfect sphere in the center, perfect shapes, a whole nother blocks of boxes. These aren't almost perfect like some of the animals. These are exactly perfect. And I am all on board with the Nazca people alone can draw animals that look like my son did, my grandson did it, right? In the dirt. But when you start putting these in, and they're perfect.
Well, now I'm not saying that it's like a 3-year-old, because like if you look at like Van Gogh, for example, his pictures are not like exactly what you would envision. Like, if he drew like the sky. I mean, just think of his famous painting. What's it called? Is it called The Night Sky?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that picture does not look like if you took a picture of the night. It's stylized. It's got its own like artistic flavor. Like, cause all of the like the monkey, like, I mean, it looks like a monkey, obviously, but it's also like it's not a picture perfect like exact replica of a monkey. You know what I mean?
Van Gogh isn't painting it on a desert floor either.
But he wasn't drawing squares either.
Right.
Squares are really easy to get perfect.
But not the
Are they
circles
not?
within them. I couldn't draw a perfect square.
Well, this is where the grid system.
You know how to
comes
make
in,
a perfect circle?
Huh?
You put a stick in the ground and take a string and walk around.
Yeah, until
You got a perfect circle.
String starts going around your stick, and then your circle.
That's how you do a perfect circle. I'm just saying the circles and the squares are some of the easiest geometric shapes there is. I'm not saying that that's the answer. I'm just saying
Gotcha.
they're not that tough to do perfect squares and perfect circles, which
Well,
is kind of what Joe Nick. Some questions.
sure.
I ask you, and I don't think you ever. Well, yeah, you did. You kind of answered if it was runways, why the others. You did answer that one. Another question for you. Why do you think Eric von Daniken's theory that he espoused in Chariots of the Gods for the Nazca lines became so popular, even though the vast majority of scientists don't believe it?
I think that in that particular case, he was the first to bring them mainstream, and he answered, like so many conspiracies, there's a nugget there that people can grab onto and run with. And I think that's your answer.
Probably.
It's
I
just
think so.
believable enough that it makes sense.
And to be fair, a lot of these conspiracy theories are not mainstream. I mean, we just talked about even the cryptids, just as one
Right.
example. I mean, scientists have widely disputed the existence of anything like this. So I think when you're getting into conspiracies in general, there's like an air of like, well, you're kind of going against the grain here on these beliefs. But
I will say that as we progress in 2026, it's a good year to be a conspiracy theorist because we're being right on a lot of stuff. Just bringing it out
Yeah.
there.
I mean, just
Like
take the
what?
pyramids.
Huh?
Just take the pyramids.
I
When they
know.
just find
Pyramids, all the other stuff that we're not going to get into in this show tonight.
Alden, don't throw out a teaser of how we're conspiracy theorists are being right. I don't know of one,
we are
one
absolutely
example,
being right.
not
on,
one.
on so much.
Tell
I
me
mean, just
one.
look at aliens.
Nothing's been
The
proven.
government is about to.
Nothing
They've
is
all
setting
but
up
said,
for
they've all but,
disclosure.
we just had a Harvard
They've all
professor
but said.
tell us that for months that, oh, this asteroid coming in is actually a mothership of, like, what, that, you know, who would say
And
that?
he finally walked that theory back. You know that, right?
No, yeah, I
They
do.
all-
Of
yes.
course. Because it didn't come.
We all knew that it wasn't
Yeah,
to begin with. And you
but-
said that a long time ago.
Yeah, but like he, but like for somebody to say that out loud back at 20 years ago, I mean, it was nuts.
But do you not think he was, what's his name?
Avi Loeb.
Yes. Do you not think he was just gaslighting us, trying to get more interest in the whole field? I thought that from the very beginning, that he didn't believe it. He was so careful in the way he worded things to word that it wouldn't destroy his reputation, even though he was making these outlandish claims.
Right.
But I just thought he's gaslighting us, and I thought it was very smart of him to play it that way because what he had to say drew so much interest to that whole, not only the meteor, which I know you probably still don't think it is a meteor, but
Oh, you
not
don't?
only, no, he never did. Not only, it drew interest not only to that meteor, but to the entire field of
Yeah.
study. So I think it was very smart of him to take that.
I think that and Muamama, or whatever you want to call it, both probes. Absolutely. I don't think they were alien ships.
It was
I think they
unique,
were
right?
probes.
Like I don't think we ever seen an asteroid like it. Where
No,
it's,
we haven't.
it-
It's very different.
it's like the
It's only the
metallic
third
compounds.
interstellar object.
interstellar
Hence
object.
the name,
Yes,
3-Eye Atlas.
exactly. It's only the third one
Yeah.
ever. So
Yeah.
How-
Mua.
considering
we don't have a lot of
there was only two before,
stuff to go off.
what are
Yeah,
the
right.
odds it might be
The
different?
sample size is pretty small.
Exactly.
Well,
Question for you, Brett. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, well, it only raises the opportunities because for me to be right. Just saying. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Anything over zero raises the odds. So,
Exactly.
question for
Thank you
Brett.
for the proof.
How do you think they were able to do this with such precision? Couple of examples. Some of the straight lines, miles and miles long. We know that these things deviated less than 4 yards over the course of several miles over very uneven terrain. The monkey's tail is an almost perfect mathematical spiral. These guys didn't have GPS. These guys didn't have LiDAR laser levels. How were they so accurate?
I think that the grid system definitely would help this. Like I don't know if you remember. I don't even know if they had coloring books back when you were a kid, but
No.
when I was a kid, they had these coloring books, and like on one page
They
you'd
didn't
have
need the crayons.
a picture, and it would have the grids, and then on the other side,
Yep.
they would have just the grid, so you could like copy. And it made it so much easier to
Right.
draw this picture. I think it's kind of similar in that, and that I think that's
would agree.
definitely how they would have done it.
Again, they were smarter than we often give
So
them
smart.
credit.
I mean, it's so clever. Even just what they did with aqueducts. And I
Yes,
think, I mean, that's just these people were obviously very, very intelligent. So
absolutely agree. Any questions for me on my part?
I do. I want to. I want to not ask a question, but I do want to say, since we're talking about seeing things from above, that today was a very almost a lost historical day.
yeah,
Not-
there's just so much going on
right,
that
and,
it's just kind of
and it's just
pale in
kind of
comparison.
we are sending our dudes. We got 4 folks, 3 Americans and 1 Canadian, on the way to the moon right now.
We're about to
Artemis
break a
1.
record, right?
They're going farther out than any human has ever gone. Over 1,000. Their entire outer loop around the dark side of the moon is over 1,000 miles away, and they're doing that to see A, if we can go that far, B, to get the widest views up close of the moon as we've ever had. And they're not actually landing on the moon this time. The next flight, they're checking all the systems to make sure that that's feasible and that's doable and that everything works. But man, congratulations to NASA. I hope that
Absolutely.
Artemis 1 comes home safe and sound.
Yeah.
And, what an awesome, awesome time to be alive. We watched, if you were talking about, flight and the Wright brothers and these folks in Nazca who spent times looking up. Our generation, us living right now, have seen a sunset from a different planet. And most people don't know that footage exists because they're so wrapped up in their day, going to work, raising their kids, paying the bills. We've literally witnessed a sunset from Mars.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. What?
I agree.
It's crazy to me. But
It is.
anywho, I just wanted to bring that up. Congratulations. I did find it a bit funny, and I'm sure there's going to be a conspiracy theory about it because it launched on April 1st, April Fool's Day. But, leave it to NASA to leave
Finally,
that
you
door
admit
open.
that it takes so little to start your conspiracy.
Just takes a
theories.
grain.
That's all it
So
takes.
let me ask y'all real quick. If you had the opportunity, because me and Truly have had conversations about this, if you had the opportunity to, say they were like, all right, we're a year out, you guys are being picked for this Artemis 2 flight. Would you do it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Wouldn't even think twice.
That's how I am. She's like, what if you died?
Well,
You're
you're a
going
little
to die
bit
anyway.
different.
None of us
You
are
Yeah,
out
have
here.
100%.
wife, young kids at home.
Yeah, I still think it would be hard to turn down.
It would, absolutely.
Nobody is getting out of here alive. Why would you? If I'm going to die, I would much rather
That'd
be
be
doing.
such a cool way to die.
Wouldn't it though? I mean, you're going to be immortalized.
I mean, it sucks
forever.
but like it would be, if I'm dying, that's the way I want to go out.
You wouldn't know it before
right.
you were dead. Unfortunately, it would be very similar to what happened on that little submarine. Those guys didn't have. They had no
It
clue.
was instantaneous, at least.
They had
basically.
no clue that they were dead before they were dead.
So let me ask you both this: do you think that this discovery from these Nazca lines from the sky, do you think that changed how we view ancient civilizations at all, or do you think it really didn't change since we had things like the pyramids and
I think the answer is yes and no. I'll explain it like this. Before we did Nazca lines, before you started your research, how much did you know about the Nazca lines?
barely anything?
So if you know barely anything, and I'm not picking on you, that's all three of us, that's the vast majority of the world. So if the vast majority of the world doesn't know anything about it, how could it have changed the opinion?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
For those who did take the time to look into it and had read, and I'm sure they're like, dang, how
It's like
could they
these
have
people.
done
Some
this?
of these people have devoted their whole lives to this
Absolutely.
one.
So for those that looked into it, probably hugely changed their
Right.
opinion of the older people. Vast majority of us, as Steve just said, we're too busy living our lives and putting food on the table to even wonder about the Nazca.
As an example, and I'll go back to the Great Serpent Mountain, it's less than 2 hours from Cincinnati, a city of 30 million people. And when I went there, I was probably one of 10 people there,
Yeah,
How many people do you know that's even been there?
or even heard of it.
yeah. I've never been.
And that is a unbelievable. Like, you see it and you walk it. You can walk around the whole thing. They have a walking trail, and you're like, how many freaking people did it take with a pickaxe and a shovel to make this thing?
We live in Kentucky, close to the Mammoth Cave. How,
Yeah.
how many
Right.
people do you know that's never been there?
Yeah, right.
The majority of the people I know have never been there. All heard of it, been able to go, never have. That's sad. We
Yeah.
get too caught up in the minutia of life.
I absolutely
It's got
hope
freaking
that I've never
Isaac
done that.
Newton's signature on the wall, which is crazy.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Brett, we'll start. Since this is your last show for a while, thumbs up, thumbs down. Should we talk more about the Nazca line?
I think thumbs up in the framework of like ancient civilizations and just understand, what these people did, what these people were capable of. I think thumbs up in that regard. All the conspiracies, big thumbs down. I don't know.
Jerry?
I agree. The main reason I have to give it a thumbs up overall is we still don't know the why. So until then, it needs more discussion. But I agree that I don't believe in the conspiracy theories related.
We don't know the why, and we don't know how many are there. We're still discovering them every day. I mean, it's there's hundreds. I'm going to say thumbs up and thumbs up because I'm a big believer you don't do something for no reason, especially when you're fighting for survival. There's a reason that they put them out there. Do we have that conspiracy? Did we cover that conspiracy yet? Maybe not. Does it mean there isn't one? Maybe not. So thumbs up both ways for me. Don't go anywhere. We have a great bonus story coming up right after these short ads. And while you're waiting, swing by Newsworthy with StephenJerry.com for updates, past episodes, and all the weird stuff that Jerry's into.
Before those ads roll, make sure you like, follow, and share the show, especially with your weirdest friend. You know who I'm talking about. And hey, if you're thinking about buying a home, refinancing, or just want straight answers, talk to Ed Locke at USA Mortgage. Local, trusted, and ready to walk you through every step. Call 502-680-0953.
And of course, we recommend Smoking Gun Jerky out of Lincoln, Nebraska. Use code CRYPTID10 for an amazing discount on some of the best jerky you will ever taste.
Since we were talking about Peru today and the Nazca lines, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to talk about the Peruvian mummies. They captured the global attention in the last decade, even though they weren't traditional, well-documented Andean mummies found in archaeological context. Instead, they were a set of unusual, small-bodied remains presented as non-human or alien by fringe researchers and media personalities. These figures were known to shown with elongated skulls, three-fingered hands, and pale plaster-like coating that immediately raised questions. Peruvian archaeologists, forensic experts, and government officials quickly pushed back, stating that the remains appeared to be heavily altered, a combination of ancient human bones rearranged and modified to create the sensational appearance. Multiple scientific reviews concluded that these specimens lacked proper excavation records, legal provenance, and credible anatomical consistency. Despite the scientific consensus, the mummies became a lightning rod for conspiracy theories. Some people claimed that they were evidence of extraterrestrial contact, suppressed archaeology, or a lost species hidden by governments. Others argued that the controversy reflected a deeper cultural issue, the exploitation of indigenous heritage for viral spectacle. What makes these mummies so compelling isn't their authenticity. It's the psychological cocktail that they stirred up. They sit at the intersection of mystery, distrust, and our fascination with the unknown. In a way, they function like modern folklore, artifacts that reveal more about our hopes, our fears, and our imaginations than about ancient Peru itself. Human trafficking happens in every community in the world. If you see something, say something.
Call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888.
And Jerry, if you can't see the light,
Be the light.